Hello, my name is Najeli Bojo, and we are reviewing this book. It's called The Outdooring, Dedication and Naming of an African Child, a ceremony of the Gadangme people of southeastern Ghana, Ganyobipo Jimu, Volume 1, by H.C. Tete. So this was a book that I kind of stumbled upon. I think that somebody must have sent me a link to the page where I found out about this book. And obviously, I have an interest in researching Gadangme culture. So when I saw this book, I didn't need to think twice. I just went ahead and bought it. Now, in terms of my review, when I read this book, I was questioning whether to give it a 3 or a 4. And one of the reasons why I was deciding was because it has great information about the Pojemo ceremony. It is, again, in a very simple, easy to understand format where when there are words written in the Ga language, it is translated into English and the meaning has broken down. But what made me give rise to that question was often as African people, not even just the Gadangme, we always like to, there has been a great demonization of our culture. And essentially what that has made us do is that every time we're talking about the beauty of our tradition, we feel we have to justify how beautiful it is by comparing it to more acceptable standards of cultural practice by, what's accepted in the world. Christianity is usually, in our case, what we like to compare ourselves to. So I always have this little bit of an issue whenever anything's written by our culture, and we always try and validate ourselves by making that comparison. And this book did make that comparison, but did it in a slightly different way. Rather than calling ourselves, Israelites, they basically said, well, why are you criticizing us when you do the same thing? So every now and again, when he will talk about a certain aspect of the culture, he will address certain things that are said about the Gadangme traditions by Christians, and saying, how could you say such a thing when the Bible says this, when the Bible says that? So I do look forward to a time where we can be Gadangmes, where we can be Africans without feeling that we need to validate ourselves by comparing ourselves to more accepted traditions. I find that it's something very typical of African tribes to do, and you find it very rarely happen elsewhere. People usually feel that I am valued as I am. I respect my ancestors' views. My ancestors knew what they were doing. And so when they talk about their culture, they talk about their culture as it is, and they validate themselves by, looking deep within themselves. And where they make that comparison, they make it on a level playing field. But I've decided finally on the number that I'll give this book because, one, although there was that comparison, he was going from a slightly different perspective than usual. And although this book is about Pojemo, he does talk about other things such as marriage, funeral rites, and also the Ga calendar, Twins Festival. And then I had to ask myself the all-important question. So I've read quite a few books on Gadangme history. When I read this one, did I learn anything new? And the answer was yes. And so because of that, my review for this book is a 4. Thank you very much.